All right, so I am here with my buddy Mitch Pomeroy, aka Cashflow Mitch.
Hello, everyone.
And he is going to do some wonderful things today. He is going to explain to us how to do a wrap. But first, I wanted to talk to you about how you got your start in real estate. Like the very, very beginning. Let's go back. Like, how did you even decide that this was a route you wanted to take?
For real estate, yeah. So I was actually working in a family business. I was running a family construction company, and it was before the last market crash. And about 2006, I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to kind of, carve my own path, be self-employed. So I started out actually as a real estate agent, and I actually got my real estate license December 30th of 2006.
Okay.
So I started in 2007 and in the beginning of the crash.
My goodness.
And so I worked as a realtor through the crash.
How was that?
It was great. It was priceless education. I mean, it was difficult, right? But I learned a lot of different things during that era. I started, I learned about BPOs. That's kind of when BPOs started, and I started working with regular buyers and sellers, and then I gravitated towards investors because there was no emotion involved in the sales, and it was basically just numbers, property, location, price, numbers. And so from there, I did that for a while. I was doing pretty well, and then I moved to Southern California, and I had the opportunity to work with a broker that was handling a lot of REOs at that time, and they were handling like over 450 REOs. And so it was a lot, yeah. And so what I did is I pretty much inserted myself into their business by being willing to do anything to be successful.
Right.
So I just called them up and I just told them, I was looking, for an opportunity to work in an office that was doing a lot of volume of business. And by going into that office, I was surrounded by people who were doing a lot of deals. And I was able to learn an entire process, like, how are they getting the REOs? How do they manage them? Property preservation, the listing side. And when that was happening, they started having a lot of investors calling in. And I happened to meet an investor that was already buying court step auction properties. But they wanted to get into the REO short sale side.
Okay.
So I kind of inserted myself into the broker's business, and I figured out how to add value was a big part of it, right?
Right.
So I didn't get paid anything. It wasn't like I came in and they like gave me some great salary or anything.
So when somebody new is trying to figure out like how they can add value, like what is your main piece of advice for that?
I think the best thing you could do is start surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like.
Okay.
And figure out how to add value to them.
Okay.
Because these people are incredibly busy.
Right.
They really are, right? So if you could figure out something that they need help with, and you could figure out how to add value to them, and you're just around them and the energy and what they're doing, you are going to get a priceless education.
Right. See, I feel the same way. I'm like total immersion.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I lived in China for 5 years.
I did not know that.
I did.
Wow.
So I learned some Mandarin, but I would have never learned it if I hadn't lived there. So
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean,
same with real estate.
Yeah, it's the same with real estate. So so when I jump in, I jump in. I am 100% committed, and I don't have a backup plan or anything like that. When I jump in, I'm going all in.
And so how did you make that leap? Did you join your sub 2? So did you join the sub 2 community and then start doing more investor things, or were you still an agent not in the community when you started doing this type of stuff?
There was no there wasn't a lot of groups. There was really only one group that I had ever heard about. At that time, it was Fortune Builders.
Yes.
I think is what was around.
Yeah.
That was it. There wasn't really a whole lot of other mentorships. And I'm more of a trial by fire kind of person.
Right.
Initially. Now, I mean, I do have, groups that I am a part of. I do come to WealthCon. I do, participate in Sub 2. I'm also in Note School with Eddie Speed. and we're also getting ready to set up a fund. And so, I don't know how to set up a fund.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go get educated, right? So it's like, you've got to go get educated, by other like-minded people. So no, I didn't. There wasn't any mentorships, but what I learned was by helping a group of people that was already flipping houses. I was a real estate agent. I showed them how to buy short sales and REOs.
Right.
And one of the ways that I add value was that they actually had all their properties listed with all the top agents of San Diego.
Okay.
And so what happened was they had like 18 or so properties listed around San Diego County that they had flipped and put on the market, and they weren't selling.
Okay.
And so I told them, they said, hey, can you, maybe take a look and comp these out and see what you think? I said, I'll tell you what. I will go out, I'll inspect the properties, I'll photograph them, I'll comp them, I'll send you reports, and I'll tell you what I think it's going to take to get them sold.
Okay, so all the things.
Yeah, and so I went out there, and what happened is that a lot of the properties, the construction wasn't completed, the pools were half empty, there was still construction materials in the front yard, the landscaping was dead, they were not market ready.
Okay.
And so, nobody really had been to the properties. And so I gave them the reports, I sent it back to them, I told them what I thought it would take to sell the properties. 2 of them, they sold the properties, and they pulled all the listings from everybody else after that, and I got like 16 listings.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's how the relationship started, And so, but it was because I didn't charge them to go do the inspections or the reports. I just figured out a way to add value,
Well, that's like, I always say that, like, when you help others, you're helping yourself. Like, you're not thinking that, but eventually, that whole network thing.
I mean, in that relationship, so what it did was it allowed me to be around a group of people that were flipping. And when I started with them, they were doing probably 5 to 7 flips a month.
So did you start by flipping?
I started as a realtor, and then I started by finding them properties.
Okay.
And then what I did is we started bringing short sale REOs, wholesale deals, and then I also started helping them with their auction business.
Okay.
So this is like prior to all these cool apps and everything that we have right now. This is like 2011, 12, 13.
You love all the apps.
Well, I mean, I'm not the most tech savvy person, but a lot of the apps make it so much easier today. Like,
yeah, they do.
PropStream. I mean, we had Property Radar, actually. I think that's right about when Property Radar was coming out.
I don't know that one.
Property Radar? Yeah. So Property Radar is a really good tool. Now you have PropStream and all these other tools. But what it did is it allowed me to learn by full immersion, because that's all I was focused on. I wasn't showing buyers and sellers properties anymore. We were literally looking at properties all day long, comping all day long. I was helping them with court step auction properties from LA, Riverside County, and San Diego County. So we started at 3:30 in the morning, comping properties. We had drivers driving all the various cities. Yeah. Started at 3:30 in the morning.
You were the first ones, I guess.
Yeah, well, what we do is we would start comping the properties, and then by 5 a.m. We would have drivers out driving the properties at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
They were looking at properties, knocking on doors, trying to see if the properties were vacant condition, make sure it's still standing. And then we had bidders at the auctions that would bid on the properties. And so we did that for a long time. And then we got to a point where, they went from doing like 5 to 7 properties a month, where we were doing 30 a month.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I got an incredible amount of experience.
What was your team like? Like, how many people did you have for those 30?
So we had a lot of outside contractors that were doing the construction part, and I slowly built up to that team. We had a team of about 8, and then it went to 10 at one point. And so what we were doing was just pretty much constantly, all day long, agent outreach, wholesaler outreach, calling. Everything that hit the market, we wrote an offer on. We comped it, drove it, wrote an offer on. And when I say everything, well, San Diego back then, you could actually buy houses for under $450,000 or $400,000. Like, we were buying houses. Yeah, it's crazy. Like in 2012, we were buying houses in San Diego for like $190 to like $260 75, 300.
Yeah, everybody just wants to go back to those days.
Oh yeah, and those neighborhoods, by the way, now are 950 to $1.3 million.
Yeah.
You know,
Easy,
but
right?
yeah, it's just easy, right? So, but with that, you know, like right now, I know everybody thinks they want to go back to that era.
Yeah.
But we have an incredible opportunity right now.
So now, like, I hear that, well, a little birdie told me you have like really lofty goals with expanding what you're doing right now with the wraps. So kind of to explain to everybody what a wrap is, how it's done, we have our Hershey's Kisses here.
I love it.
Yeah, because
Those look like mortgage notes to me.
They do look like mortgage notes.
So we'll show everybody kind of how this works, right? So what we're doing is, you know, there's a lot of people out there that purchased homes with 2.5 to 4% interest rates.
Oh,
yeah. You know, and what happened was during COVID, between like 2020, 21, and probably until March of 22, the mortgage rates were incredibly low. So, you know, what happened was people were getting these 2.5, 3.5, 4% interest rates. So what happens is that people got the interest rate, they were buying these houses. So what we're doing now is, like, you know, we do a lot of agent outreach. We'll find a house, direct to seller, wholesalers, you know, all the variations of communities that we're in.
Right.
We're constantly talking to people and telling them what we do.
Right.
You know, so anytime you're getting in real estate, I don't care if you're a carpenter or if you work at a hair and nail salon. When you're out telling people what you're doing, you're not a carpenter or a hairstylist. You're a real estate investor.
Yep.
You know, so you got to tell everybody what it is that, even if you are barely starting out, you have to tell everybody what you're doing.
So with
Constantly.
these wraps, you can help
Yeah.
people that can't qualify. So
Yeah.
if an agent or a lender finds somebody who can't qualify to buy a house, you can still help them.
Absolutely. So how it works is we purchase properties subject to the existing mortgage staying in place. So let's say a house has been on the market for a long time. And so I'm going to give you some gold right now. All you have to do is go into Realtor.com or Zillow and look at all the properties that are vacant, that have been on the market for 30 days or longer. Call the agent and say, hey, do you think if I could get your commissions paid, would your seller be open to creative finance?
How much pushback do you get from some of those agents?
If it's been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, the agent they want to get the property sold and they want to get paid.
Right.
If they get the
And
property
if you
sold,
can explain it to them, right?
yeah, and so if you can explain it to them, so what we'll do is we'll say, and you ask, well, why would somebody even consider that? The reason why they would consider is, imagine the house is vacant.
Mm-hmm.
They've already bought another home or they've been transferred to another city. They're literally going through their life savings in a very rapid pace
Right.
with 2 mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we purchase the property. It has an existing mortgage of, we'll call it 3%. What we do is we title transfers to our name, but we continue to make their same mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So subject to means we're taking over the property subject to the loan staying in place. So what we do is then we purchase the property. We actually will cover all of the seller's realtor fees, escrow, title, tax, transfer, everything.
Oh, well, I'm sure they love that.
So that's, you know,
Yeah,
that's really, we're trying to help them out of a situation. So by doing that, what it does is it allows the seller to move on. So depending on, you know, the structure of the deal, you know, is it a low equity, no equity, or negative, the seller may also get funds to help them, you know, move or do whatever they need to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
So once we purchase it subject to, now we become the owner of the property. So what happens is there's all these buyers out here. These buyers are what we call like non-QM buyers. These would be buyers who traditionally don't qualify for a mortgage for one reason or another. To give you an example, like we've called loan officers all over the country, including here in Las Vegas, and what happens is almost 65% of everybody who applies for a mortgage gets denied.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is we have contractors, small business owners, restaurant owners, you know, the food truck guys.
Mhm.
There's lots of self-employed people that, that will either get denied for a loan, or maybe the bank doesn't like their tax returns, their credit, the color of their truck, their wife's shoes, whatever. It might be anything, right? You don't know. So, so what we do, there's also I-10 buyers,
Mhm.
which are very popular in California, Nevada, Texas, Florida.
Why don't you explain to everybody what I-10 buyer is?
So an I-10 buyer is someone who has a visa to work in the U.S., but they don't quite have U.S. citizenship yet.
Okay.
So they get a tax ID number. A lot of times they are business owners, they're paying taxes, but they just don't have U.S. citizenship yet. So what happens is, like, if you go in to apply for a loan, your loan has to fit in this perfect box, right? That the mortgage company or the bank wants. Well, a lot of self-employed people don't fit in that box, including
the square peg and the round hole.
Yeah. So you got all these people over here. So what we'll do is we'll go out and we will build relationships with agents, loan officers, and we'll go out and find these people. We do it through, social media, TikTok, Facebook, all these different avenues, And so what we do is, so now this is the mortgage, we bought it subject to, we currently own it. Then what we do is we go find a borrower who traditionally doesn't qualify for a mortgage. And then what we do is we bring them in and we seller finance the property to them, and we become the lender.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the base of it.
You made their day.
Yeah, and so we solved the problem with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
We solved the problem with the buyer. If this person was behind on their mortgage payments, they just avoided foreclosure.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of value in it, that you can offer. And on top of it, this is one of the greatest things ever that we're doing right now. NAR is like all over everybody's mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we're actually offering our properties on seller financing, we're paying buyer commissions.
Oh, okay.
So, and part of that is that we're actually doing agent outreach, and we're letting them know, hey, we have homes out in your area that we're offering on seller financing. Would you be interested in holding open houses? We're paying buyer commissions. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. And so, so that's actually what we're doing. And part of the reason why we're doing that is that, we're going to be we do a lot of marketing on Facebook.
Okay.
And so we're getting 50 to 75 buyer leads a day right now.
Oh, wow.
And so now, as opposed to us, we want to build agent relationships.
Right.
And the reason why is because, if we have a buyer that, comes in, and this weekend, it was Easter, we weren't sure how many buyer leads we were going to get. We had 80 buyer leads on Sunday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All self-employed people who couldn't qualify for a traditional mortgage.
They were Easter hunting, apparently.
They probably were, right? But they were hanging out with their family. But, everybody's
on their phone now.
lives on their phone now. So it's but, a lot of the role of this business, real estate investing, being a realtor, flipper, short-term rental, midterm rental, sub-2 wraps, everything comes down to one thing, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, So, if you go out and you build great relationships and you add value, you take care of people, be a go-giver, share your information, that's one of the things I love about all these communities that we're all involved in now, is that when I started, everybody was very secretive, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to share their information. And now it's with the internet and YouTube and all these, great communities that we're all parts of, we share the information freely now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I love YouTube. It's such a wealth of information. So where can people find you? Oh,
okay. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Homester, which is Homestir, and then also on Instagram it's Cashflow Mitch. So
there you go. All right.
Call, text,
thank
stop
you so
by.
much for coming on today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.